I'm showing you the scenery with my DJI Pocket 4. You can see how it looks when there's gimbal stabilization. You can compare what I just did with my smart glasses. You can compare it, the DJI Pocket 4. I'll show you the tool that I tried to show you with my smart glasses. And I will also record my DJI Pocket with my smart glasses so you can see how it looks. Now you see my DJI Pocket and the tomb behind with my smart glass, just so you can compare. Of course, the stabilization is way better because you have a gimbal on the DJI Osmo Pocket 4 with the smart glasses. And there's no time limit with the Pocket 4. It's just so you can see how it looks with the gimbal, with the Osmo Pocket, and how it looks with the smart glasses, the videos, just so you can have an idea. Also, I will take a couple of pictures with my smart glasses so you can also take a look at the pictures. Now, I'm doing this intro today for several reasons. One is so you can see the smart glasses on my face. I will start a recording now. I've wake them up. I've pressed once here. Well, I pressed twice, just once. It's recording. You will record for 60 seconds. You'll be able to see some light indicating that I'm recording. Some light on my smart glasses, just up there. There's probably some light indicating. Here you can see it. On screen I have single tap to stop recording. If I tap, the recording will stop. It will automatically stop after a second. This is just to show you my smart glasses and also have a little chat for the introduction of my video. The 60 seconds of recording have passed. Before I show you the unboxing and AI who is commenting and analyzing my unboxing experience. I want to disclose that I had a chat with INMO because I had to contact them since there were a couple of issues with my smart glasses. You'll find out what the issues actually were. I uploaded a log with the issues. They were mainly due to my ring because my ring disconnects. You will find that in the unboxing video more in detail. I uploaded a log because normally that's not normal behavior and the ring should not disconnect every time the app is not on my phone on the foreground and my phone is on. We talked about the batteries, which were the main reason why I bought this smart glasses, the batteries that come in this box. Here is what they proposed. They did it probably because I'm a YouTuber. They offered me to send me 4 more batteries for free. I only had to cover the shipment costs. The price of the 4 extra batteries they offered me. I wanted to disclose that. That they only did yesterday evening. My review of the smart glasses was already over. My unboxing, my view, my first thoughts, all that was already recorded and edited. Today, the only thing I add is this introduction, which you will see first. They offered me 4 batteries as a gesture to talk about my experience with the service. INMO did a lot of things correctly. I ordered on Kickstarter my INMO. They delivered nearly on date. They had a very short production timeline. They went a little above that timeline, just a couple of days. That is awesome. It was one of the best experiences I had on Kickstarter. I did order around 10 products 8-9 months ago. Half of them I did not even get delivered. One of them was extremely scammy. They asked me to pay more. Once I already paid everything that we agreed on Kickstarter, they asked me to pay some more money because of RAM prices going up, but they did never deliver the small PC I bought. Also an experience of a new exoskeleton that I ordered on Kickstarter. I have never seen that exoskeleton until now, and 9 months have passed. The experience can be tough on Kickstarter and look scammy. Because of that, when everything goes through, they deliver fast, the help service answers fast, and they are professional and take the right decisions, then you're all happy because you don't go through all the frustration of dealing with people where you don't know if it's a scam or if one day you get the product you have ordered. A PC with specs that are just relevant 1 or 2 years, then they get outdated to technological progress. Then you have to wait 1 year until you maybe get delivered, which is not even certain that I ever will. Kickstarter, when you're looking for edge products, something that is not already on the market, sometimes it can deliver something amazing. But when it does not, it's a hard pill to swallow. Half of the products I have ordered last year have still not arrived. I don't know if they ever will. It's not a funny situation to be in. That's why when you deal with somebody like INMO, they deliver on time, they are professional, they try to do whatever they can, you're happy. It makes everything more easy. The review you will see will be 1, the introduction that I'm doing right now, 2, AI analyzing my unboxing, and 3, my unboxing experience. You will see all that. You can jump to the part that is most relevant or interesting for you. If you only want to see what's in the box and how my unboxing experience was, well then jump to the last part after AI talks. If you're more interested in generally understanding something about smart glasses, why they can be useful, why I use them, why this is my 3rd smart glass experience that I have, why I chose those smart glasses over the other ones, the even reality ones or the meta ones, all the other smart glasses you have. This video should answer that precisely. It should give you an idea on what to focus on, and AI will explain it extensively in this video. The main point and the main thing you should be focused when you buy any smart glasses is the batteries. The best would be, just with the INMO glasses that I'm wearing right now, that you can buy more batteries. Because the batteries are the weak point. They have life cycles. Once you're through, your glasses are totally obsolete. So that's the main point you should focus on. I received them 2 days ago. Yesterday I could try them while I was commuting. My experience was not too bad. Unfortunately now, if I want to use the ring, I have my phone in my hand and it must be on. I can dim the screen. That I think they will fix with an update. Normally that's not normal behavior of the smart glasses. Even with that, it was quite pleasant. You don't need to actually use the ring. You can just use the tactile interface here. Right now, I don't have my phone on. The ring is not working. I can still use the tactile interface on my smart glasses. I'm a philosopher. I have written 5 philosophic books. I will publish my 6th one soon. I hope I'm not messing up the numbers. I've written 5 or 6 books already. The last one, I should be able to publish it very soon, as soon as I get through. It's already written and edited. I still have to go through all the process of publishing it. For me, reading philosophical text is important, especially when I'm outside, because I always see commuting, going from a point A to a point B, as a waste of time, since I cannot do any work while I do that. It calms me if I can read philosophic Stoic texts. My books are the Princess of Stoicism. This is important. Having a physical book in your hand, it's not very pleasant, especially when you're commuting, because your head is always moving, due to the car moving. You have bumps on the road. If your head moves like this, it's very hard to stay focused on a physical book that you have in your hand that doesn't move with your head. If you have a text in your glasses, your hands are free. Even if there's a bump on the road, the text, the line always stay at the same place, which makes reading way more easy, way more pleasant. Normally, all I have to do is click here. My smart glasses wake up. They stay in the app where I am. This is awesome because even if I'm a red light, I have to wait 5 minutes until it goes green. I can just press here and keep reading for 5 minutes. Then I can press one more time and it stops. Whenever I want, I can just immerse myself in philosophic Stoic thoughts. That is an important thing to me. I enjoy that. It makes my life much more pleasant. It has a lot of value to me. The bad thing is that you have to upload the books. Since most books are longer than the maximum of characters or words you can upload in one prompter file, I have to cut my books in pieces. That is not so funny. I already told them that if they could, when I copy-paste a book that exceeds the amount of characters that I can put in one teleprompt file. It would be great if they just cut it in several pieces. For now, nobody does that. I hope in the future either the maximum amount of words is close to infinite or so big at least that every book can be put into one of those teleprompt files. That would be great. If not, if they would automatically cut it in pieces and say part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. I already told them that when I was communicating with them. They generously offered me those 4 extra batteries free of charge. I will only pay for the shipment costs. Everything else will be free of charge. That was the first issue, that I have to always not exceed the amount of characters, of words allowed. The second issue is that the app, while I was copy-pasting those different parts, the app is not responding. I had to press 50 times wait until I finally managed to copy-paste. There's a second way of doing it. You can create text files and then upload the text files. I haven't tried that way. I don't know if then the app won't go into that not responding phase. These classes are brand new. The app is one of the earliest versions. Not a lot of bugs have been fixed. All that can be updated in the future. I managed to upload all the books I wanted, which were 5 books. One of them had to be cut in pieces. The other one was small enough to go through in one go. If there weren't endless "the app is not responding" message, it would have been quite smooth. It's not a 100% solution and not a smooth, 100% pleasant solution. But to me, it is worth it. I'm happy that I have those smart glasses and that I can use them for reading. Right now, they are the best fit for me. Of course, what I'm telling you is time limited. In 6 months, there will be 5, 10 or 20 more smart glasses on the markets. Meta will produce some new ones. They are in color. Last time the display was only on the right side. The next smart glasses will have displays on both sides probably. They are in color. Here we have monochrome. For me, I don't need color. Color will consume more electricity. If you cannot swap the batteries just as I can do with these glasses, the INMO glasses, it is a bad idea to start with. Still, of course, in the future, there will be a day where we'll update to color instead of monochrome. For now, my use case, which is reading when I'm outside, when I'm commuting from place A to place B, these glasses are the best fit. My experience was pleasant with them. They were very understanding and they tried to do the best for their image, their relationship with the customer. They offered me the 4 batteries. Understand that I only talked about being a YouTuber and producing a detailed review at the end of our conversation. They were just as friendly from the start on. They did me a little favor because I'm a YouTuber, but they were professional, polite, doing the entire process, even when they did not know that I was a YouTuber. They did me a little favor. That's a normal thing to do when you talk about a brand and endorse them. I endorsed them because I had to choose my next smart glasses. The other one I cannot use them anymore. They were the best fit for me right now. Even though my YouTube video will point out all the shortcomings of the glasses, all the stuff that could be improved and make them better, you still live on this earth in a certain period, in a certain year. And if you want a perfect product, that you will never get, because innovation is never ending. And everything around you will always improve constantly. It would be nice if most of the updates aren't hardware updates, but only software updates. For now, you get as much hardware updates than software updates. There's a moment in time where you have to choose with what you go, when you can afford it, when it's important to you. For me, reading when I'm commuting is important. I always wanted to do that. I always tried with books, every support possible. Tablets, phones, and smart glasses are the best fit for reading. I know that most people will use those smart glasses for AI or the videos or to take pictures. That's all fine. Everybody has his use cases, his reason why he buys a product. For me, it is reading. With my YouTube channel, I produce a lot. I don't do a niche YouTube channel. Because the main point why I have this YouTube channel, which is quick learn, is to learn stuff. It is my way of doing research, of analyzing, understanding new subject, and publishing that research. It takes a lot of time, a lot of work, but to me it is all worth it because it is my way of learning and constantly improving, discovering new things about life, about philosophy. Without that channel, there's a lot I would have never understood, practice, and integrate in my philosophy and my art of living. For me, it is all worth the effort, the work. If I compare myself to a normal person, they would never do it. One, because it's a huge amount of work. Two, because I'm incinerating every year a huge amount of money just to produce these videos. The only thing until now that I have received, that might change in the future, the only thing that I have received from my subscribers, firms who want me to endorse the product from anyone are 4 batteries. Every year I spend a lot of money to produce these videos, do the analysis and the research that I do. It doesn't come free. On everything I do, there's a price tag. There's always a subscription. There's always a price tag. If you add all that up, doing an entire year of all the different apps you have to use to produce something on YouTube, it adds up. It's a lot of money. If I would disclose the entire number, I don't even know it. Most people would think madman to spend so much for something that all I have received in exchange up to now are 4 batteries. To me, it's all worth. For most people, this is bad news. Since being a creator, a producer on YouTube, most of them never make any money. If you want to know who makes money, only the people where every intervention they make on YouTube makes at least 50,000 views. If every time you make an intervention, you make 50,000 views, you barely make a living with that money. As long as you're below that, you can't even afford electricity. Trust me, I can guarantee it to you. I'm doing this for years now. I have produced 5,000 interventions. Unless you're a celebrity, every time you produce, you make 50,000 views at least. If that's not the case, you will never be able to make any money out of YouTube. Most producers on YouTube work for free. If you go through the algorithm search for people, you'll see that popular YouTuber channels are very few. There are 100 or 1,000 of them. Most of them just copy-paste. They just do the same thing. They always talk about the same stuff and they always talk about it the same way. Every comment is the same. Even them, they don't make a lot of money. Not everybody is a famous YouTuber. Famous YouTuber, well, there are probably only 10 on earth that make a lot of money. You have to be promoted very heavily through the algorithm, which can do that for anybody. Unless you're really heavily promoted through the algorithm, you never make any money. I don't think that's a bad thing, actually, because I would like to have people in front of me who give honest opinion, talk about stuff because they are genuinely interested in it. If there's no money involved, if people don't make any money, well, then your chance of them being honest, talking about stuff that really genuinely interests them is way better. I've talked about the main points regarding those smart glasses. I'm happy with them. I hope I can use them for a couple of years. I was pleasantly surprised to talk to INMO and have professional people on the other side who try to help their customer as much as possible. That I'm a YouTuber and that they did a little favor for me is just being polite. It's just normal image management. That's a normal thing. It didn't have any impact on my way of analyzing the product. They didn't ask for me to talk in a certain way or mention certain stuff. Everything is genuine. Everything I produce is honest. My thoughts without any limitation or barriers. I only try to avoid subjects that are unfortunately banned. When freedom of expression does not exist on a subject, well, then I won't just go into that subject. Because all that will happen is that I will get fined and end up in jail. It wouldn't do any good to me or humanity. There are so little people that are subscribed, little people that watch what I produce, that it wouldn't change anything. Even if I had billions of people going to prison, still wouldn't change anything. Because 99 99.99% of those 1 million people would never understand why I'm in prison or why I was talking about. They would not get it. Just spending time in jail for something totally stupid when you didn't harm anything, when you didn't harm anybody, when there's no victim, when your way of talking or analyzing the world is the most normal thing for any human being, but somebody made up a freedom-killing law, well, there's no point in going against that and ending up in prison when it won't change anything. All the stuff that is banned, people can easily understand it themselves nowadays. There are plenty of people who, one way or another, produce that content already. It's just up to you to take a look at it. So there's no point for me in going into those subjects, waiting until they smash in my door just to make a point that nobody cares about. There's no point in that. You should not put yourself in harm's way just to say what is obvious. The last thing I have to do is take a couple of pictures. I will do that while I go back home, then upload it. And thank all of you who are interested in my research, who appreciate all the work, all the money I spend on it in order to improve my life, because it clearly improves my life. Maybe somebody somewhere finds something interesting in it. As a Stoic man, I believe that people cannot ignore you. When you do honest, real work, you contribute to humanity. People cannot ignore you forever. We believe that there will be a time where somebody understands you. It is your shadow that is always around you. It might take a long time for it to catch up. It might take a long time until that happens. It might only happen after you're already dead. I believe that humanity cannot ignore you ever. Only show hate and animosity for what you do, for all the work you have done, for all the sincere and dedicated work you produced for free without asking anything in exchange. I believe that humanity cannot ignore you forever. I also know that sometimes it takes more than a lifespan until somebody understands you. That's the case of a lot of great men on this earth. The greatest men, actually, that walked on this earth. Very few people nowadays understand a sage. That might be Jesus, the one everybody talks about, or Diogenes, or any other sage. Sometimes it takes an eternity, generations, until there finally is one human being who can understand what those great men did. I just live my life according to what is interesting to me. I do the work that has meaning to me. I let humanity do whatever it wants with it. It really doesn't matter to me. I've never done this to be famous. I would be ridiculous thinking that a philosopher could be famous, or that the crowds would approve a philosopher, or that it would make him wealthy. All that, if it happens, only proves that you are not philosophical. If the crowd understands you, it is the definition of you not being philosophical. If you're really a wise man, they would never understand you, and they would never approve you, because you're so far away from their way of living and their way of analyzing the world. They could never comprehend you, and they would never want to comprehend you or approve of you. I've given up on that a long time ago. I never believed in it to start with. I was always wise enough to realize that. To me, it has a lot of meaning. Just now, look at where I am. This is a nice place. I can come here. I can have a chat with you. There's nobody bothering you. I can talk about subjects that have meaning and value to me. I can spend some time outside, get some fresh air, and talk about everything that fascinates me and passions me, and that I find interesting. That, to me, has a lot of value in itself. Yes, I will never meet any of my subscribers. Yes, I will never have a chat with them. All that is not the point. It is a journey. You have to stop projecting everything on the outside world. You have to think only about yourself, your internal well-being. I don't mean seek pleasures. That's not at all what the Stoics are talking about. If you want to be able to have a meaningful life, when you look in the mirror, look at yourself, you have to be able to establish peace in yourself. That you can only do if there's a huge amount of renouncement, sacrifice, and distance, contempt even for life. You have to become philosophical. You have to take a huge distance with everything around you. The only way to do that nowadays, the only way I have found to do it, is immerse yourself in philosophy. That's the entire purpose of those smart glasses. Why do I talk about that? I do very few products review to start with. I talk about it because that's a way of accessing this philosophy that matters so much to me. I'm already producing another vlog. I went way over with time. When I produce something, I easily exceed 10 hours of recording. Then you have to edit 10 hours of recording, which exceeds the limits of what is even possible for the apps to handle. But the subjects are very interesting. I have already edited out of the 10 hours, maybe half of it. Once edited, a lot of stuff gets cut out. 10 hours shrink to 5 hours. Then if I keep editing, it will even shrink to half of that. There's more to come on this channel. While I do that, I do a lot of more research on subjects that have value and meaning to me. I'll produce all that also. It's all a question of perspective. A lot of people would be very disappointed if they work for years and never manage to monetize their channel or make any money. To me, it really does matter, because all that matters is the knowledge, the skills, and how it improves my life. If there's only just one person who finds it interesting or worthwhile taking a look at, well, that's already a lot in the world we live in. It's all a matter of perspective and opinions. In the future, if I get any endorsements, I will always tell you what I did get and what we agreed upon. With INMO, they didn't ask for any way of presenting or talking about their brand. If they did, I couldn't agree to whatever they said. They would tell me that I could not be independent in my way of presenting the product or talking about the product. Then I probably would have declined. I will always be transparent. If I get any endorsement or anybody in any way does me a favor because I'm a YouTuber, I will always disclose that, just as I do right now in the introduction. I wish you the best. See you soon. Bye-bye. As you can probably see, the tomb of the person in front of me is called Rudolf Tag. Sonntag in German means Sunday. His name was Sunday. Quite funny. He liked to have a day off and not work. I'm talking just so you can see if there's any audio on the video, how my voice is picked up. The videos only go until 1 minute. It's 52, 53 seconds. When I reach 60 seconds, the video will stop. Now you see my DJI Pocket and the tomb behind with my smart glass, just so you can compare. Of course, the degradation is way better because you have a gimbal on the DJI Osmo Pocket 4. Then with the smart glasses. Also, there's no time limit with the Pocket 4. It's just so you can see how it looks with the gimbal, with the Osmo Pocket, and how it looks with the smart glasses, the videos. It is just so you can have an idea. I will take a couple of pictures with my smart glasses. It's recording. You will record for 60 seconds. You should be able to see some light indicating that I'm recording. Some light on my smart glass, just up there. There's probably some light. Here you can see it indicating. On screen I have single tap to stop recording. Yes, if I tap, the recording will stop. It will automatically stop after a second. This is just to show you my smart glasses and also have a little chat for the introduction of my video. I'm gonna do a product review. I will compare my new smart glasses to my old smart glasses. This time I do an unboxing video. Normally I do not do unboxing videos because there are a lot of unboxing videos that are already available. I don't find it adds much. This time I'll do one. My old were the Even Reality G1. The battery life was horrible. When I received them, the battery life was not that bad. With time, it degraded really fast. It went down to 20 minutes, then 15 minutes. Right now, I can barely look at the time and date for 5 or 10 times before the battery is over. Battery life was horrible. The only thing I used them for was never AI, was never to take notes, never to translate. All that were gimmicks that were totally useless to me. However, one feature was important. That was Teleprompt, because I can put here my books while I'm at a train station or waiting for a bus. I can just read one of my Stoic books that I have written or any other book. That, yes, I liked. However, the limit of characters you can put in one of those teleprompts is limited. I could never upload my entire book. I had to make sections from it, like section 1, 3, 4, 5. That was annoying. Reading was the only reason why I used the classes, and time and date. That was the only feature that made sense for me. AI makes no sense as long as it is not the latest model, the paid model. As long as I cannot use an API key, as long as I cannot use the latest model of ChatGPT or any other model, as long as I cannot use an agent, it must be top-notch intelligence. I don't want anything that is, well, not too bad. I could ask a question. It must be very fluent. As long as it's not as good as the paid subscription that I have, the latest models, then I'm not interested in it to start with. Navigation was horrible. You could never find anything with it. Navigation was really bad. The only thing that made sense to me was the teleprompter, as I told you. It says 90%, it is charging. It never gets 100%. As soon as I take it out, it drops to 60, 70%. I will show you the glasses. Here are my Even Reality glasses. The battery started swelling. I had to glue it back together. Right now, it only lasts very short. The tactile input was really bad. Very hard to use. They have a sunshade. You could put a sunshade on top of them. That was quite nice. Right now, the only thing I can use is like 5 times look at time, then it's over. That's all I can do with them right now. I've bought new ones on Kickstarter. To read text when I'm in a train or else was to use those Rocket glasses, which are not bad. However, the issue with the Rocket glasses is mainly the app that I use to read PDF file, because that app doesn't resume where I have left. I have to take a screenshot of where I left in the book. That's very annoying. It's very time consuming, but I've used that. And the huge advantage with this is that you get a real window. It is very bright. Even in maximum sunlight, you can read very well. That was great to do some reading when I'm traveling from place A to place B. Since my Even Reality glasses had that major battery issue, I will do the unboxing of the new ones. I haven't tested them. I'll open them. I'll tell you what it is. This here is probably my lenses correction. This is the box I have received. That's how it looks. A white box. Let's open it. With the Even Reality, this was the sunshade that I could put on top of them to transform them into sunglasses. This I really enjoyed. However, you cannot leave them in when you close the box. You have to take it off, put it in this separate couch. Now I can only look 5 times, maybe 10 maximum at time. That's all I can do. Then the battery is dead, which is really shameful. These are the new glasses. Let's open it and see how it looks. That is how it is presented. Here are the glasses. Here is a speaker. Having a ring is awesome because here you had to use that tactile interface. Good luck making it work. You had to try it 5 or 10 times to make it do anything. We get a ring. Let's take a look at the ring to start with. Let me open it. Take a look at it. A manual. Here we have a charger for the ring. Let's take a look at the charger. It's a proprietary charger. It's not USB-C. It's something that you can only use for that ring. That's all right. It is magnetic, apparently. Here we have the ring. In order to charge it, I will just have to make it hold magnetically like this. It fits my hand. I don't know if I did give them the size of my finger, but it perfectly fits. This is really awesome. I like that. I haven't tested it. I cannot tell you if it's any good. For now, it looks really nice. That's for the ring. Let's take a look at the speaker. I think they are mainly used for translation, so that people can hear your answer when you translate. It's a classical speaker. No charging cable comes with it. Here you have the USB-C charging port. I don't know if it really answers calls or if it's only for translation. The other people can hear you. I think you can read what they say. They might be able to hear what you say in their language. I haven't tested any of this. I cannot tell you if it's any good for now. All I do is an unboxing. Probably later, once I have tested them a couple of days, I will come back to you at that passage. These are the main glasses. Let's pull them out. That's an empty box. Here we have the glasses. Again, a manual. You get this. I have no idea what it is for. Here are the glasses. Here are the batteries. The main reason why I bought them is because I can swap the battery. I can just pull it out, then I just can put the new battery in its place. I hope that will give me more time. I should be able to recharge a couple of times with this. There's plastic here that I have to remove. Let's do that now. It already starts blinking for charging. This is good. Here, no plastic, nothing to remove. You can see what the size it goes in because there are 2 and then 1. So I know that that's the correct size, not this one. It holds magnetically. The magnets aren't very strong. I hope it will not fall out. Magnets are very weak. This is how my glasses look. Apparently they have cameras where I can ask questions. Here I can remove stickers. These are my prescription lenses. I have no idea how to put them in. I have no idea how to open it and how to put them in. I would have liked that my prescription lenses directly come already installed. That would have been nice. Let me just take a look and see. That's the correct correction for me. The correction is correct. I have to be sure to not mess it up. They only fit in one way, not the other one. I would have liked if they come directly installed because now, how on earth am I gonna put those in? They're not magnetic. I don't think they just hold onto it. Maybe you don't actually take the glasses out. You just push them in. Here I have to scan, try to figure out how it works. I've tried. However, when I scan this code and I open it, it shows me the video that I will have to use. Before I did, everything is in Chinese. I don't even see the video that I needed. Maybe this one, it's not my language. I don't speak Chinese. It asks for this app, Bilibili. Download. I can find it on the Play Store. It says, this item is not available in your country. They banned me because of my country. I cannot open it. That are the instructions actually on how to install my correction. That's the first issue that I have. All I can do is ask AI and see if he can find out how to do it. Explain it to me. There was a video, it's not very good explaining. You have to make sure that there are no fingerprints on your glasses. Then you have to put it into the slot here first. Then you press this side down until it clicks. Once it should be fine. You must be very careful to not break anything. It is unpleasant to install them because you don't want to break the glasses. It's very hard to not put any fingerprints inside. That's how it goes. First it goes to the left, then you press down until it clicks. Even then there's still space between. It never fits 100%. I guess it can be used. It's better than nothing. I just have to find out if nothing broke, if they still work. I will install the app, try to see how it goes. Right now I'm installing the app. The app is called INMO Global. I will try to pair them once I open the app. So let's open the app. Let's see if I can pair it. I agree. Connect. Of course, I have to go through an email. I will have to do that. I'll come back. I had to validate my email. They're asking me to allow this. He's searching for my glasses. Finally, success. I can see my glasses I can press connect. Is it possible to go to English? So I have to pair. I hear there's on my glasses. They will give me 500 times. They will ask allow. Next. I don't see anything. I have no idea how to move. Well, probably I need my ring for that. The AI starts talking even though I don't want that. Anything enable. Enable permission. Again, allow. Man, it's amazing how many times you can ask me allow. AI keeps recording even though I don't want it to record. I'm not asking you to talk with AI. Did I ask for AI? No, I did not. How do I get out of this menu? Oh my god. I have to figure out how this works. All I can see is that he's hearing and writing what I say. I didn't ask for this. I can put him on and off. I cannot move through the menu. I cannot stop recording my voice. The ring doesn't do anything. Maybe it has no battery. For now, I have no idea how to use it. All I can see is him recording everything I say, which is totally useless to me right now. At least they're connected. I will charge them. Then I will figure out how to use them. The most frustrating thing was to install this, but at least I didn't break it. It's very hard to not put any fingerprints on it. Now that I have figured that out, I will charge everything, my ring, my glasses. Then I will come back to you with my opinions about them. Here's what I hope. Probably the battery at the beginning will work quite nice. I only have one spare battery and here one more. I don't know if I can order any more batteries. Probably not. I didn't see any options. That's the issue. At the beginning, the battery might work quite nice. Then with time, I end up with the same thing with the even realities. 2 months or 6 months later, the battery will from half an hour or 45 minutes will drop to 20 minutes, then 15 minutes, then below 10 minutes. Then you can use it only a couple of times. I hope that this battery they gave me will last longer. I hope that I can use it more because the thing that broke those glasses to me was the battery. Here I have only one spare battery. I would like to have more batteries actually, and I have no idea if I can order some replacement batteries because they have life cycles. This battery has a certain amount of life cycles. Once those life cycles are through, well then it's useless. You have to throw everything away. Without electricity it won't work. First I have to test it, then maybe I will talk to them, try to see if I can get some more batteries. Because my idea would be to have some smart glasses that I can use over years, 5-10 years. Not something that I have to go away in 12 months and get some new ones. If they work, if they do what I want, being able to read books, then I would like to be able to use them for years, 5 years, until I really want to upgrade to something else. Batteries are the biggest issues with smart glasses. Because if it's like this at the beginning, I think it was around 30 minutes of screen time. At the end, you can only look 5 times at a time and before the batteries are dead. Well, then this is only paperweight. You can't really use it. Batteries, that's the thing that kills your glasses. I hope that I will have a better experience with my new smart glasses than with the old ones. I will test them. I will charge everything. I will come back to you. I have tested this a little more. Here's what I can tell you. This is if you want to make sure that you cannot record. Since you can take pictures and videos, this is to make sure if you don't want to be able to record, you can include this onto your glasses here. I think that's what that's for. The ring over Bluetooth, it will connect. However, the issue is you have to have your app on your phone open. The ring only works as long as the app is open. If the app is not open in the foreground, it stops. I can use the ring with my glasses. I can dim screen. If I, for example, go to my home screen, then I can forget about it. Then my ring stops immediately working. As the app is again in the foreground, my phone screen is on, then the ring works again. If I go in sleep mode, well, it stops working. I did write an email to them explaining the issue. I hope they can fix it with an update, firmware update. For now, the ring will only work when the screen is on and the app is in the foreground. If not, the ring stops immediately working. You can take pictures, which is not too bad. You can take videos, which is not too bad with the ring. You can record your voice. With AI, you will be able to select what model you want. There are 2 available. One is ChatGPT, another one. I don't know how to do it right now. you can select your AI model. Subtitles for movie, I didn't have any success with them. However, real-time translation is not bad. Dialogue translation, I will see what the guy says on my screen. He can hear it with that Bluetooth transmitter. The translation is not the best quality of translation. It's good enough to get your ideas across. By the best, I mean you could say the phrases better. You could translate them a little better. It is very short, the translation, and not very sophisticated. I tried, for example, English, German, since I speak German more or less. It is not the most pleasant way of translating. It is still better than nothing. Yes, this works fine. For battery, as you can see, I have 65% left on my glasses. That was all my tests I did. All my tests did cost me around 40%. For now, the batteries are not too bad. Now, I don't know how long they will keep at that level. Teleprompter is also okay. It's not too bad. I haven't uploaded any files for now, but I will do that in the future. For now, they are better than what I had before. I think the translation is not too bad. As long as you want to carry this around, you actually don't need it. You can just use your phone. Videos, well, you have always on you. You don't want to pick your phone out. You want just a small memory. Just take a picture or record a 15-second clip. For that, quality is not the most important. For that, it's all right. I don't like that there's no case to put them in. That's a little sad. You should keep them on your face. Overall, I'm quite happy with it. I think it's not the worst. The AI itself, ChatGPT Nano version that I use right now, that's all right for fast questions. It's not bad. I'm not logged into my account. It's the free version of ChatGPT. It is better than that. That's for sure. It's better than that because here I can only look at time. I always have to wake the glasses up. Waking them up is this button here. You have to wake them up. You cannot just raise your head and the screen will show. The screen will give me the apps I have, for example, camera. It won't show me date and time. It shows the time a little. It's not nice to look at. I don't always want to see the apps every time I look at my screen. Sometimes I just want the weather and the date and time. That's all I'm interested in. Here, every time I raise my head like this, I would see date, time, and weather. That was nice. Unfortunately, those you have to wake them up manually by pressing here. For now, I cannot do it with my wing. Maybe in the future it might be possible, but for now I cannot do it with my wing. So I always have to touch this. And then I see all the apps and the time. Why I bought it was the batteries. The rest is okay, you can do with it. I haven't tested how big the document is. That I haven't tested. How much I have to cut my books in order to be able to read them. That I do not know for now. Overall, they are not bad glasses. There's a lot I like about them. If they can mainly fix this, I can use it even when the screen is off of my phone, then it would be way better. If I can only use it as long as the screen is on, I don't like that. I could manage. I really don't like it because it means the phone always has to be on. If not, I cannot use my ring. The app always has to be in the foreground. I'm quite happy with them for now. I've only tested it for 1 hour. I tried everything possible to make it run, to stay in the foreground. I granted all the permissions. I even went with ADB, checked that everything is working correctly. Every permission is granted correctly with my Windows 11. Everything seems to be working as it should from permissions perspective. Unfortunately, the ring can only be used as long as it's like this. I can dim the screen as long as that is in the foreground. If I go to my home screen, you can forget about it. The ring stops working immediately. This to me is annoying. Maybe they can fix it with an update. Overall, I'm quite happy. There's not much I can add. For me, it is just to read documents. That's the only thing I'm really interested in. I don't mind that if a person talks a different language, it will translate. That's fine. To me, the only thing that really matters is reading documents. That's the only thing that matters. I haven't tested that extensively. I cannot tell you. What I can tell you is that with the document they have uploaded, yes, it works. If I swipe to the right or to the left here, that's the swiping button. This is just a shortcut button. If I swipe to the right or to the left, this probably to detect my finger movement, it does nothing. If I swipe to the right or the left, This is the button for swiping. If I click one, it is selecting. Click twice, it is going out. It works as long as the app is in the foreground. It's not too bad. This is just a shortcut button. You can select whatever app you want. If they would change a couple of things, if they would make the ring work even if the phone is not on, the app is not in the foreground, then it would be way better. It would be nice if I could wake my glasses up by just pressing this button, for example. Instead of having to press this button, then it would be way better. I have to test it. I have to use it daily, see how happy I am with it. Overall, there's a lot I like about it. That's all I can say for now. I'll come back to you in the future if I have more comments on it, if they reply to my email, if they can fix the issue with the ring. Once you figure out how to make it work, I'm not totally disappointed with those glasses. I wasn't disappointed with them, except with the batteries was the killer feature for me. I get on top of that cameras. For me, it's not the reason why I bought them. That's not so interesting, taking pictures and videos. It's all right if you want to do that. For me, just to be able to read. There's a lot of time where I cannot work on a PC. I'm just going from a place A to a place B. Then it's very nice if I can read. If I can upload a document and just read that with the teleprompter feature. If I do a video, if I want to talk about some subject, I can use some bullet points and to remind myself in one of my vlogs what I wanted to talk about. That's all great. That's important. That's why I bought them. Thank you for watching. I'll come back to you if I have some news and if I get a reply, if finally I can manage to make that ring work, even when my screen is in standby mode or app is not in the foreground. I will wait for the reply from the help service. Maybe they can fix it in the future. I like that more than the Meta smart glasses for now. Of course, in the future, there will be two screens instead of one screen in the future. The Meta glasses are color, not just monochrome. For me, it's just reading. Reading, I don't need colors for reading. I'm happy with that. I'm more happy with that than the Meta smart glasses. I hope the battery lasts longer. I hope I can use them for a couple of years. I think once I upload documents, teleprompt reading documents will be fine. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye. There's one final thing I want to tell you. In the setting inside of the glasses, you have to manually go here, then select your brightness. When you are outside, when it's dark, you will have to lower it. You will have to do that manually all the time. There's no auto-selecting feature. It's not a deal breaker. It's a little sad, because I would have liked that to be auto-managed. Here, the brightness adjustment was perfect. I never had to think about it. When I was outside, it increased the brightness. Yes, when there's really a lot of sun, then it was good to use the shades. It was not a bad product, except the battery. The battery started swelling. The battery is a deal breaker here. If not, this wasn't a bad product. It did a lot of things correct. Here it's a different concept. It's more an app-based smart glasses. They're more app-based. The only thing I'm interested in is reading text. I will do that 90% of the time. All the rest doesn't matter too much. I don't like that I will have to do my brightness adjustment frequently. It's not a deal breaker. That's not the worst. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to do a much-needed reality check on the current state of smart glasses. We are looking super closely at a highly detailed user review of a brand new pair of smart glasses, fresh off a Kickstarter campaign. Now, you know how tech marketing is, right? It loves to sell us on this frictionless, futuristic utopia. But today, we are stripping all of that away. We're going to uncover what it's actually like to live with these devices, day in and day out. To really get this review, you got to understand the reviewer's mindset first. They said, reading was the only reason why I use the glasses. AI makes no sense as long as it is not the latest model. So this user, totally not interested in gimmicks. They aren't looking to have some subpar AI assistant whispering in their ear, and they honestly don't care at all about taking point-of-view videos. They have a highly specific, very practical use case. They want a reliable, wearable teleprompter to read storybooks and documents during their daily commute. So, how are we breaking this all down? Well, here is our roadmap. Number 1, the portable reading quest. 2, the battery life problem. 3, unboxing the new Challenger. 4, a frustrating setup process. 5, software quirks and flaws. And finally, number 6, the final verdict. Let's get into it. All right, section 1, the portable reading quest. let's look at exactly what makes this tech useful for this specific consumer. What's really fascinating here is just how strict these criteria are. For this user, the primary goal is entirely distraction-free reading while sitting on buses or trains. So the teleprompter function, absolutely essential. They literally slice up their storybooks and PDFs into manageable sections just to upload them directly to the glasses. To them, anything less than the absolute top-tier paid AI is a complete deal breaker. They view standard, built-in AI models and clunky translation tools as, honestly, totally useless gimmicks. And when it comes to the display, a simple monochrome text layout is completely fine. In fact, they actually prefer it over the color displays of devices like the Meta Smart Glasses, because for purely reading text, color is just unnecessary. But hey, why upgrade glasses at all, right? Well, that brings us to section 2, the battery life problem, specifically a 5 to 10 glance limit. 5 to 10. I really want you to just let that number sink in for a second. This is the maximum amount of times this user could glance at the time before their previous device, the Even Reality G1, completely died. And to be clear, that's not 5 to 10 hours. That is literally 5 to 10 quick glances at a digital clock before the battery gave out. When you compare the old tech to the new, the stakes become super obvious. Think about the fatal flaw of those old Even Reality G1 glasses. The built-in battery degraded horribly, dropping from a frankly meager 20 minutes of screen time down to pretty much 0. Worse than that, the battery physically swelled up, forcing the user to literally glue the glasses back together just to use them as a paperweight. Now, compare that disaster to the highly anticipated solution of the new smart glasses, magnetic swappable batteries. They even come with one spare in the box. The whole reason this user bought them was this big hope that they could just hot swap batteries and keep their commute reading going indefinitely. With those incredibly high hopes in mind, let's step into section 3, unboxing the new Challenger, and check out the hardware and accessories. So what's actually in the box? Well, we have a few key components. The main glasses themselves feature a camera, which, again, the user doesn't really care about, and those all-important swappable magnetic battery slots right on the arms. Now, the reviewer noted right away that the magnets holding these batteries feel a bit weak, which, is slightly concerning. But the real excitement came from the smart ring. It perfectly fit the user's finger out of the box and is meant to be this cool tactile controller for swiping through pages, charged by a unique proprietary magnetic charger. The box also included a separate speaker attachment for audio translations and, crucially, a pair of custom prescription lenses. But, as we all know, having cool hardware is really only half the battle, right? Welcome to section 4, a frustrating setup process. Prepare yourselves for geoblocks and rogue AI bots. The installation process was, well, it was a comedic and honestly terrifying reality check for early adopter tech. Remember those custom prescription lenses I just mentioned? Yeah, the glasses arrived without them actually installed. So the user goes to scan a QR code in the manual for instructions, only to be directed to a Chinese video app called Bilibili, which was geo-blocked in their country, no official instructions anywhere. They literally had to ask an AI chatbot how to physically assemble their expensive new hardware. The process? Carefully slotting the lens into the left side while desperately trying not to leave fingerprint smudges, and then pressing down firmly on the right side until it snapped, praying the entire time that the glass wouldn't just shatter in their hands. I mean, not exactly a premium onboarding experience, is it? And the software side? Yeah, not much better. Setting up the companion app, which is called INMO Global, required a ridiculous gauntlet of permissions. The user described hitting allow just over and over again. Then, absolute chaos strikes. The built-in AI suddenly wakes up and just starts automatically transcribing the user's voice without even being asked. The interface effectively trapped the user in this endless recording loop, offering zero clear way to back out of the menu. Oh, and that super exciting smart ring controller? Out of the box, it did absolutely nothing. Which brings us right into section 5, software quirks and flaws. Let's look at the daily usability issues that popped up during a 1-hour stress test. This right here was probably the biggest letdown of the entire review. So the user finally got the ring paired, right? But then they discovered a fatal flaw. The smart ring only works if your phone screen is physically turned on, and the INMO Global app is running in the foreground. The second you lock your phone or swipe to your home screen, the ring just instantly dies. For a device meant to be a hands-free teleprompter while you're sitting on a bus, forcing the user to keep their phone screen constantly glowing in their pocket is a massive, massive battery-draining compromise. And then there were these subtle, frankly annoying downgrades from the older broken glasses. Like, there's no auto brightness. With the old Even Reality G1s, the user could just step out into the sun and the text would automatically adjust. Now, They have to manually dig into the glasses settings every single time the lighting changes. Plus, you can't just raise your head to check the time anymore. You actually have to physically push a button on the frame to wake them up. And when you do, you're greeted with this incredibly cluttered UI showing all your apps rather than just a clean, simple time and weather display. Oh, and despite this being a premium piece of wearable tech, there is absolutely no carrying case included in the box. Make it make sense. So, considering the terrifying lens installation and those truly frustrating app limitations, did this new hardware actually conquer the commute? Let's move to Section 6, the final verdict. Is it actually worth it? To sum it all up, when it comes to battery life, that swappable design truly is the hero here. In a 1-hour stress test, the battery only drained about 40%, which is totally manageable when you know you can just snap on a fresh one. However, the bad news is they only supply one spare, and it's totally unknown if you can even buy replacements yet. For the reading experience itself, the teleprompter works wonderfully for those uploaded storybooks. They genuinely prefer it over Meta's full-color display. But that ring controller forcing your phone screen to stay on, that is a huge drag. Everyday use is definitely a mixed bag. The translations and the basic camera are totally fine, but the lack of auto brightness, no case, and that annoying manual wake button really hold it back from being a perfect device. Ultimately, though, despite the software headaches, the sheer peace of mind that comes with those swappable batteries makes this a tentative win for the reviewer. Which leaves us with this final thought. We've seen how a sealed, built-in battery literally swelled up and killed a $1,000 piece of tech in mere months. It forces us to ask a tough question. If batteries are the ultimate killer of wearable tech, are swappable power cells, even with their weak magnets and bulkier design, the messy but entirely necessary future of smart glasses? It's a fascinating trade-off between seamless design and actual functional longevity. That is all for this explainer. Keep questioning the tech you wear, and I'll catch you in the next one. Smart glasses promise a sci-fi future of AI assistance and real-time translation, but wearing them every day tells a brutally different story. Here are the 4 honest realities of living with modern smart glasses. First up, the killer app isn't AI or taking photos, it's the built-in teleprompter. It overlays text onto the real world, making hands-free reading during your commute the best reason to wear them. Next, battery degradation is the ultimate device killer. Older models quickly decay until they hold just enough charge to check the time, becoming expensive paperweights. That's why the newest models feature swappable magnetic batteries, the single most critical hardware upgrade. Third, external accessories are crippled by clunky software. This tactile smart ring is meant for easy menu navigation, but it has a fatal flaw. It becomes completely useless the moment your paired phone goes to sleep or leaves the app. Finally, the setup experience is notoriously terrifying. You have to blindly force fragile prescription lenses into the frames, hoping you don't snap the plastic. And if you need help, you'll often find the official instructional apps are completely region-locked. Smart glasses have finally nailed the basic hardware ideas, but aggressive battery decay and unpolished software still hold them back from being seamless everyday wearables. Why do smart glasses burn through life cycles in just months, dying faster than your phone? The fatal flaw isn't the AI, it's their ultra-compact size, forcing the battery to its limit. Take a brand new pair. Out of the box, you might get 30 minutes of active screen time. To use them all day, you must drain and recharge that tiny battery constantly. That complete drain and recharge is called a life cycle, and every battery has a strict finite limit. Holding only 30 minutes of power means you burn through multiple cycles every single day, hitting the battery's structural limit incredibly fast. Most people think an aging battery just means you plug it in more often. But the drop-off isn't a slow, gentle fade. Once those cycles are exhausted, the total capacity plummets aggressively. 30 minutes drops to 15, and finally to just enough power for 5 quick glances. Then comes the final physical consequence of this exhausted chemistry. The battery actually begins to swell, splitting the frames apart. Without swappable batteries, your expensive tech becomes an unwearable paperweight. So that tiny 30-minute battery you thought you were getting right out of the box, it doesn't just slowly lose its charge. It rapidly burns out, swells up, and kills the glasses entirely.
This is the brief on a real-world smart glasses product review. We're unpacking a hands-on comparison between failing old smart glasses and a brand new model, showing why face-mounted tech still struggles with basic battery life and bizarre bugs. First, let's talk about user goals versus tech gimmicks. You know, this reviewer didn't care about AI. They just wanted a reliable reading teleprompter. But their old glasses, the Even Reality G1, suffered insane battery degradation, dropping from 30 minutes of juice down to 5 before literally swelling up and dying. It's like strapping a jet engine to a bicycle. If the battery dies in 5 minutes, fancy AI is totally useless. Second, to solve that hardware lifespan issue, the user upgraded to the new INMO GO specifically for its swappable batteries, avoiding an expensive paperweight. But wow, setup was a nightmare. You gotta forcefully snap in fragile prescription lenses without leaving fingerprints, only to find the instructions hidden behind a region-blocked Chinese app. Seriously, what good is modular hardware if you're hacking geoblocks just to read the manual? Finally, moving to daily use reveals a massive software flaw. The glasses include a magnetic smart ring for navigation. But here's the catch. It only connects if your smartphone screen stays perfectly awake with the INMO Global app running in the foreground. What's the point of a hands-free ring if you're babysitting an unlocked phone in your pocket? Ultimately, while swappable batteries finally solved the hardware lifespan issue, clunky ops and tethered software still hold the technology back. Until these companies realize that seamless software is just as important as the hardware itself, you're going to be stuck keeping that smartphone screen wide awake.
Welcome to the debate.
Imagine spending hundreds of dollars on a cutting-edge augmented reality device, only to find yourself physically gluing the frame back together less than a year later.
Yeah, literally gluing it, because the battery inside is swelling up like a balloon.
Exactly. Or on the flip side, imagine having to open a developer command line on your PC and navigate some app store that's banned in your country just so your smart glasses can talk to a Bluetooth ring.
It is incredibly messy.
It really is. Today we are digging into the frankly chaotic reality of early-stage augmented reality wearables. We're grounding this in a comparative analysis of two specific devices, the older Even Reality G1 glasses and a newer modular pair that uses the INMO Global app.
Right. And looking at these two devices brings a very fundamental tension into focus for this market. It does. We need to figure out, when evaluating the viability of early-stage AR wearables, what actually represents the primary barrier to adoption. Is it fundamental hardware constraints, specifically battery degradation and power delivery? Or is it disjointed software and user interface integration?
That is the big question.
So I will be arguing that seamless software and UI integration is the critical path to utility, because without it, the hardware is fundamentally useless.
And I will argue that physical hardware limitations, namely power supply and modularity, are the existential threats to this technology because a dead battery is permanent.
All right, so from my perspective, smart glasses are, at their core, an extension of user experience. If the software integration is hostile, it renders the device unusable, regardless of how long the hardware might theoretically last. We see this vividly with the new modular glasses in the source material. I mean, to even use the tactile control ring, the user is forced to keep their phone screen on.
Right.
And the companion app has to just run in the foreground all the time. Furthermore, the new software environment forces this unwanted AI voice recording on the user, and it just strips away basic quality of life features like auto brightness. This absolute failure of software integration just breaks the core promise of AR, which is supposed to be a hands-free, seamless extension of our digital lives.
Well, I approach this from the inescapable reality of physics and chemistry. Software issues, no matter how frustrating, are temporary annoyances. Hardware failures are terminal.
I mean, true, but let me finish this thought.
The source material highlights the catastrophic failure of the Even Reality G1 glasses. That device literally became a paperweight because the internal, non-replaceable battery degraded so severely.
Yeah, it was bad.
The user went from having a functional device to something that could only be used to check the time, maybe a few times before dying completely? A device with perfect software that suffers from a swelling, glued-together battery is not a flawed product. It is a broken product. This makes hardware modularity, specifically swappable batteries, the absolute prerequisite for the technology's success.
Look, I think we really have to break down what fundamentally kills a device for a user. You're pointing to the literal death of the battery, which, okay, is fair. But I look at the death of the user's willingness to engage with the system at all.
I come at it from a different way. We have to look at the mechanical and physical life cycle of tiny lithium-ion batteries.
Okay, let's talk about that.
The source material is remarkably clear about the degradation curve of those even reality glasses. When they were new, the battery life was acceptable, around 30 minutes of continuous screen time.
Which is already pretty short.
It is, but the degradation was rapid and relentless. It dropped to 20 minutes, then 15, and finally to under 10. And we have to look at the mechanism behind why that happens. You have a tiny battery, maybe 150 milliamp hours, crammed into a thin plastic arm.
Right.
The heat of a human face. Under that constant thermal load, the chemical components of a lithium-ion cell degrade incredibly fast. Because smart glasses depend entirely on electricity to function, having a non-replaceable battery in that environment limits the product's lifespan to roughly 12 months. After that, you're just wearing inert glass.
Which is exactly why the new glasses introduced the swappable battery system.
Exactly. You pull one out, put a new one in, and it attaches magnetically. Now, the source notes the magnets might be a bit weak, but there is a structural reason for that.
To avoid interference, right?
Risk severe electromagnetic interference with the display driver board and the Bluetooth antennas packed right next to them, so they compromise on magnet strength to maintain signal integrity. But that physical innovation, a swappable power source, is vital. It theoretically extends the lifespan of the device from 1 year to 5 or 10 years, specifically for that core use case of reading documents on a teleprompter.
I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning because you are entirely discounting the moment-to-moment reality of interacting with that device. Let me offer a comparison.
Go for it.
It is like owning a car with an engine guaranteed to last 1,000,000 miles, but the steering column is completely severed the moment your smartphone screen turns off.
Wow, that is quite the visual.
But it perfectly maps to the underlying architecture of this hardware. The user explicitly notes that the tactile ring controller, which you know is essential for navigating the glasses without aggressively tapping the side of your head in public, it only functions over Bluetooth if the INMO Global app is open in the foreground and the phone screen is actively on.
It's definitely clunky.
Why does that happen? It happens because iOS and Android operating systems are designed to aggressively throttle and kill background polling to save the smartphone's battery. The phone's OS fundamentally treats the AR glasses as a rogue power drain. So the moment the phone goes to sleep, the OS cuts the Bluetooth connection and the ring just immediately stops working. This software dependency entirely negates the fundamental purpose of AR glasses.
It is certainly a massive point of friction. I won't deny that.
Is an architectural failure. The whole point is to keep your phone in your pocket. If I have to walk down the street holding my phone with the screen glowing, just so my smart ring can talk to my smart glasses, the ecosystem has failed. We aren't talking about independent AR devices here. We are talking about fragile external monitors fighting a losing battle against a smartphone's memory management system. A 10-year battery life is totally irrelevant if the daily friction is so high that the user simply gives up.
Look, you are focusing on the friction of the interface, which is valid, but I am focusing on the baseline requirement for existence.
Okay.
The even reality glasses failed that baseline. The battery didn't just quietly lose capacity, it started swelling. The user had to literally glue the frame back together because the expanding lithium-ion pouch was pushing the plastic apart. That is a massive structural failure.
It sounds terrifying, honestly.
It is. With the new modular glasses, the user has a spare battery. The device functions as a multi-year tool. If the ring disconnects because of background OS throttling, yes, that is a severe software limitation. But the teleprompter still lights up, the text still scrolls, the device still performs its primary function.
But how it performs that function is exactly what we need to look at next. Because the way the OS manages power doesn't just kill the ring, it exposes a massive regression in how these devices handle intelligent automation versus raw functionality.
How so?
Well, think about the older even reality hardware. It had a perfect auto brightness feature. It used an ambient light sensor that dynamically adjusted the display. The user notes they'd never had to think about it. Moving into maximum sunlight, the glasses just adapted. It removed the cognitive load completely.
Sure.
The new, supposedly superior hardware strips this away completely. You have to manually adjust the brightness through a menu every single time the environmental light changes, and it gets worse. Because the software is so poorly integrated, it forces an unwanted AI interface that immediately starts recording the user's voice without permission.
The AI interface in this iteration is certainly aggressive.
It is deeply invasive. The user gets trapped in this clunky software environment, unable to navigate away from the AI prompt, bombarded with permission requests while the device listens and transcribes without their consent. The user explicitly states they didn't ask for AI, they don't want it, and yet they are trapped in a menu they cannot exit because, again, the Ring isn't functioning properly. This is not just digital friction. It is a hostile software environment that prevents the user from accessing that raw functionality you are championing.
That's a compelling argument. But have you considered what the early adopter actually prioritizes in practice?
I mean, clearly not usability.
Despite everything you just described, the manual brightness, the aggressive AI, the clunky swiping interface, the user explicitly states that the lack of auto brightness is not a deal breaker. They call it a little sad, sure, but not a deal breaker.
I find that level of tolerance almost unbelievable. How can the loss of such a basic automation not be a deal breaker?
Because raw functionality fundamentally trumps automation when the brute force hardware is good enough. We have to look at the primary use case detailed in the source material, which is reading documents on a teleprompter screen while commuting.
Right.
The new device pushes an incredibly high number of nits. The user notes it acts like a real window, perfectly readable even in maximum sunlight. The user is willing to tolerate the lack of auto brightness and even the intrusive AI because the core mechanical utility is achieved. When you are sitting on a train reading a book you've uploaded, you aren't navigating menus or adjusting brightness every 5 seconds. You are just reading.
Assuming the Ring lets you scroll.
Right, assuming you scroll. But the software annoyances fade into the background when the hardware simply works and allows you to physically swap in a fresh battery to keep that text scrolling.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on relying on raw functionality when the software ecosystem is this immature. You are operating under the assumption that software is just an overlay, something that can be ignored or eventually patched. But look at what it actually takes to achieve this raw functionality out of the box. The software reality isn't just buggy, it is a systemic ecosystem failure.
Ecosystem failure is a very strong term for early-stage firmware.
I don't think it's strong enough. To even verify why the Ring wasn't working, the user had to dive into ADB, Android Debug Bridge.
Oh, I remember that part.
They had to literally open a developer command line on a Windows PC just to stop their phone's operating system from suffocating the Bluetooth connection. Then, to figure out how to install their prescription lenses, they scanned a QR code that sends them to a Chinese tutorial video on an app called Bilibili, which they cannot even download because it is banned in their country's Play Store.
Look, that is a symptom of geopolitical app fragmentation, not necessarily a failure of the glasses themselves.
Wait, they actually had to use an external AI just to translate the instructions to put the physical lenses in. That is absurd. It highlights that AR hardware is currently being severely bottlenecked by geopolitical app ecosystem walls. They are writing emails to developers across the globe, praying for a firmware update to fix the Ring's dependency on the phone screen.
Yeah, that's the bleeding edge for you.
But betting on firmware updates from a developer separated by those geopolitical walls to resolve fundamental usability roadblocks is a massive, unrewarded risk. Hardware might be permanent, but software abandonment is just as permanent. If those developers never push an update, that Ring will always require an active phone screen.
And yet, despite the Bilibili app ban, despite having to use a command line for Bluetooth debugging, what is the ultimate result? The physical hardware is operational.
Barely.
Yes, the user had to navigate a terrifying physical process to snap in those prescription lenses. The source notes the anxiety of pushing the delicate optical glass down into a rigid plastic frame, terrified of cracking the waveguide display or the frame itself, trying desperately not to leave fingerprints on the inside glass. It is physically incredibly stressful, but once it clicks in, it is done. The physical limitation is permanently solved.
But it doesn't even fit perfectly. The user explicitly notes there is still physical space between the lens and the frame.
True, it doesn't fit 100% flush, but it works. The optical correction is accurate, and more importantly, they have a spare battery sitting in their bag. Software bugs, localization failures, background app restrictions, these are abstract barriers that can theoretically be patched over the air. But a swollen lithium-ion battery bursting out of its plastic housing cannot be patched.
No, it cannot.
You cannot download an update to reverse degraded battery chemistry. The new modular hardware, even with its weak magnets and terrifying lens installation tolerances, provides a physical foundation that can actually survive long enough to receive those hypothetical software updates.
If we are relying on hypothetical updates to make a product usable, we have already admitted the product is fundamentally flawed at launch. Look at how they handle the AI transcription.
Okay, let's look at it.
The fact that the user is relying on the free version of ChatGPT for rapid questions, which they know is, all right, but not top-tier intelligence, shows how disjointed the experience is. They expressly state that AI makes no sense on these devices unless it is a top-tier paid model. Yet they are forced to interact with this lower-tier, recording-happy system just to get to their teleprompter.
It's an annoyance, I'll give you that.
The cognitive load of dealing with an unwanted AI transcription service popping up while you're just trying to commute is staggering.
But they do get to the teleprompter. And they can use it for hours because of the swappable batteries. Contrast that again with the older even reality glasses. The user liked the interface. They loved the ambient light sensor. Waking the glasses up just required raising their head to see the date, time, and weather. It was ambient computing at its absolute best.
It really was.
But what good is a beautiful, seamless interface if you can only look at it 5 times before the device physically dies? The elegant software of the Even Reality G1 was rendered entirely moot by its physical mortality.
Let's talk about waking the device up, because I think it perfectly encapsulates the regression we are seeing. With the old glasses, raising your head showed the time 0 friction. With the new glasses, the user has to manually press a physical button on the frame to wake them up.
Right.
Instead of a clean ambient display, they are immediately confronted with a grid of apps, like the camera. It forces the user to engage with it like a smartphone strapped to their face, rather than a contextual AR wearable. If the ring actually worked independently of the phone screen, maybe they could wake it up seamlessly. But because of the software tethering, they are forced into physical, tactile friction every single time they want to engage with the digital layer.
Which again highlights the hierarchy of needs for AR wearables. The user acknowledges they don't want to see a grid of apps. They miss the ambient display. But they bought the new glasses specifically for the batteries. The source material states it plainly. The battery was the killer feature that ruined the old glasses.
Yeah, I read that part.
If the new glasses require a physical button press to wake up, that is a physical action the user is willing to trade for the absolute guarantee that the device will actually turn on when pressed.
It feels like a devastating compromise. I mean, we're talking about a device that offers real-time dialogue translation, picking up a person's speech and putting subtitles on the screen. The user notes it's not the most sophisticated translation. When trying English to German, it's short and lacks nuance, but it gets the idea across.
Which is pretty cool.
It is cool, but think about the logistics required to use that feature. Your phone screen has to be on, the app has to be actively running in the foreground to prevent the OS from killing it. You're navigating with a disconnected ring, pressing a button on the frame to wake the screen, and dodging an unwanted AI prompt. The cognitive load required to execute a quote-unquote seamless translation is absurd. The software architecture is actively fighting the user's intent.
It is fighting them, but it is not defeating them. The user successfully tested the translation. They successfully tested the camera, noting it's useful for a quick 15-second clip without pulling out a phone. Even if the image quality isn't paramount, the hardware is executing the tasks.
Eventually, sure.
And let's look at the power consumption of those tasks. The user notes that testing all these features, translation, camera, AI, cost them around 40% of their battery, leaving them at 65%. In the world of AR wearables, having 65% battery left after heavy testing is a massive victory. It proves the modular hardware strategy is the correct path forward.
Well, to summarize my position, while power delivery is undeniably a crucial factor in wearable tech, the current state of software architecture remains the severe bottleneck to the true smart glasses experience.
Okay.
When a device requires tethered app dependencies that demand an active phone screen just to function, when it forces unwanted AI recordings without easy dismissal, and when it strips away environmental awareness like auto brightness, it ceases to be an augmented reality device. It just becomes a poorly optimized external monitor that demands constant micromanagement.
And to summarize my perspective, until battery chemistry fundamentally changes, modular hardware solutions like swappable batteries are the absolute prerequisite for smart glasses to be considered viable.
Right.
The most elegant software in the world cannot overcome the physics of a degrading, swelling lithium-ion cell under thermal stress. The user in the source material accepts the manual brightness, tolerates the command line debugging, and deals with the ring's Bluetooth limitations, all for one simple reason: the device can be kept alive. Hardware longevity transforms these from disposable gadgets into multi-year tools.
I think where we absolutely converge today is recognizing the sheer amount of friction early adopters are willing to tolerate.
It is genuinely remarkable. The level of physical and digital friction required just to read a document on a train is staggering.
Exactly. Looking at early tech adoption through both the lens of physical hardware constraints and the deeply fragmented software ecosystem reveals just how much compromise is baked into the bleeding edge. The source material isn't just a review of 2 pairs of glasses, it is a fascinating case study in what users will endure to achieve basic functionality. There is clearly so much more to explore in how these localized, app-dependent ecosystems will evolve to support modular hardware in the future.
Assuming the hardware survives long enough to see that future, of course.
Indeed. Which brings us right back to our central question. When we look at this early stage of augmented reality, we have to ask ourselves what we value more. Are we willing to accept a beautifully designed digital interface trapped in a failing, dying physical battery? Or are we willing to endure a clumsy, invasive software environment just because the physical hardware can be kept alive indefinitely with a spare battery in our pocket? We'll leave it to you to decide which compromise you would make.
Welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. So imagine spending nearly $1,000 on a pair of sleek, futuristic smart glasses.
Oh, yeah. A huge investment.
Right. And you buy them specifically so you never have to pull your phone out of your pocket again.
Yeah.
I mean, you put them on, you step onto a crowded train, and then you realize something awful.
They don't actually work on their own.
Exactly. They will not function unless you hold your smartphone in your hand, unlock it, open a specific app, and keep the screen glowing at maximum brightness, all while it just, burns a hole right through your battery.
It is, it's the ultimate paradox of modern wearable technology. You purchase a device explicitly to sever that physical tether to your phone screen, right?
Yeah, that's the whole pitch.
But then you just find yourself chained to 2 screens simultaneously, and you're managing both of them just to accomplish a single task.
I am still trying to wrap my head around how we got to this point in consumer tech. I mean, we are looking at a landscape where the promise of a seamless augmented reality future is just constantly colliding with the incredibly messy, frustrating reality of actual daily use.
It really is.
This isn't Apple's polished walled garden where everything supposedly just works. This is, well, it's the Wild West of hardware.
And today, we are unpacking a source that documents this frontier better than anything I have seen in a long time.
The document we're analyzing today is this raw, highly meticulous product review from an everyday user. It details their migration from a dying pair of smart glasses, the Even Reality G1, to a completely new, unboxed pair.
Right, running on something called the INMO global ecosystem.
Exactly. And what makes this so captivating is the reviewer's perspective. I mean, they are not a tech influencer flown out to a pristine studio in Cupertino or Mountain View for some tightly controlled 3-day hands-on experience.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Those influencer reviews always feel so sterile. It's all, look at this amazing 3D dinosaur floating in my living room. Yeah, totally disconnected from real life.
Meanwhile, our reviewer, is a genuinely frustrated, exhausted consumer who is just desperately hunting for a functional solution to one very specific, very mundane problem. They're an early adopter, which means they are willing to suffer through a lot of friction.
A ton of friction.
But they are absolutely brutal in their assessment of what fails and what they are forced to tolerate.
Which basically gives us a psychological thriller of a tech review. We get to watch a power user negotiate with failing hardware, fight against hostile software architecture, and ultimately question the direction the entire tech industry is heading.
To really grasp the absolute ordeal this person puts themselves through, we have to start by looking at what they actually want this device to do. Because, you know, if you watch the keynote presentations from Silicon Valley, you would think smart glasses need to be a digital god on your face.
Right. They sell it as this all-knowing entity.
Yeah. They are supposed to be all-knowing AI hubs, real-time visual translators, augmented reality navigation systems, and immersive gaming consoles all crammed into a sleek pair of Ray-Bans.
Well, the industry paradigm right now is the everything machine. The tech giants want to create a brand new computing platform that eventually renders the smartphone obsolete.
They want the next iPhone.
Exactly. They are throwing billions of dollars of venture capital at cramming as many features as possible into these frames because they're absolutely terrified of missing out on that next iPhone-level gold rush.
But our reviewer, they actively despise 99% of those features. The source material reveals this fascinating showdown between what the industry calls innovation and what a power user calls a gimmick.
A useless gimmick, yeah.
This person states unequivocally that their singular motivation for wearing smart glasses is to use them as a teleprompter. That is literally it.
A teleprompter. I mean, it is such a brilliantly narrow use case when you think about it.
It really is.
They want to commute stand at a train station, wait for a bus, sit in a crowded terminal, and have the text of storybooks they've written or novels they want to read beamed directly into their field of vision so they can read while keeping their head up and their hands free.
And they do not mince words about the rest of the tech industry's darling features. They specifically say, never AI was never to take notes, never to translate.
Wow.
Yeah, they view these multi-billion-dollar research achievements as total dead weight. It reminds me of someone being forced to buy a massive, heavy, 50-blade Swiss Army knife.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. It's got a corkscrew, a magnifying glass, a tiny saw, a fish scaler. But all they actually need to do their daily job is one incredibly reliable, well-machined Phillips head screwdriver. Why is the industry so opposed to just building the perfect screwdriver?
Because a perfect digital bookmark or a flawless teleprompter app doesn't secure a Series B funding round from venture capitalists, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Saying we built a really stable text viewer sounds, well, pedestrian. But saying we integrated an autonomous AI agent into your optical nerve, that sounds like a unicorn valuation.
It's all about the pitch.
Exactly. The hardware manufacturers are incentivized to build flashy, complex systems to impress investors, and they completely ignore that adding 40 mediocre tools makes the one tool the user actually wants way harder to access.
That makes me wonder about their stance on AI, though. Because looking closer at the review, they aren't entirely a Luddite when it comes to artificial intelligence. They just have a wildly uncompromising standard for it.
They really do.
They mention that they refuse to use any built-in AI unless it allows them to plug in an API key for a top-tier paid model.
That is a critical distinction that reveals a lot about the modern power user. Let's break down what an API key actually does in this context, because it's vital to understanding their frustration.
Yeah, break it down for us.
So an API key is essentially a digital VIP access pass. Instead of relying on the cheap, rudimentary software built directly into the glasses by the hardware maker, an API key lets the glasses reach out across the internet.
Okay, so it goes outside the device.
Right. It bypasses the velvet rope and directly taps into the brain of a massive multi-billion-dollar supercomputer running the absolute bleeding edge of artificial intelligence, like the latest ChatGPT models.
So they are basically saying, I refuse to talk to the junior assistant you installed on this device. Give me a direct line to the CEO or do not bother.
Precisely. This user already pays a premium subscription for high-end AI on their desktop. They're accustomed to asking complex, nuanced questions and receiving fluent, highly intelligent, instantaneous responses.
Right, they know what good AI looks like.
Exactly. So when a hardware startup throws a generic, poorly optimized free-tier AI into their smart glasses just to check a marketing box, the user instantly recognizes the massive downgrade.
The reviewer literally writes, I don't want anything that is, well, not too bad. If it stutters, if it hallucinates, if it gives a rigid, robotic answer, they consider it entirely useless.
Totally useless to them.
But if that's the standard, I mean, is it even physically possible for wearable tech to meet it right now? You can't exactly fit a liquid-cooled server farm inside a pair of tortoiseshell frames.
You've hit on the fundamental bottleneck of current wearable architecture right there. Running those massive top-tier large language models locally on a device requires immense computing power.
And a lot of cooling, I imagine.
Huge amounts, specialized chips, and a massive thermal envelope to dissipate heat. A pair of glasses has absolutely none of those things. Therefore, the manufacturer has a choice.
Which is?
Either use a tiny lobotomized AI model that can run locally but frustrates power users, or route the query through the cloud to a bigger server, and that introduces agonizing latency.
Meaning you ask your glasses a question, and then you just stand there on the sidewalk for 6 seconds looking like a zombie, while the glasses beam the audio to a server in Virginia, process it, and beam it back.
Exactly. And for an early adopter seeking frictionless utility, that 6-second delay is an absolute deal breaker. Every extra feature, every unwanted AI integration, every piece of bloatware drains a fraction of a percentage of the battery.
Right, it all adds up.
It occupies RAM, and it adds cognitive friction to the user's daily experience.
Friction really seems to be the defining theme of this person's technological life. Because to truly understand the sheer desperation driving them to unbox this new pair of INMO Global glasses, we need to examine the absolute gauntlet they have been running with their previous hardware.
Oh, it's a rough history.
The ghosts of their past devices are quite literally haunting their desk, and the way these old glasses failed is genuinely terrifying.
The primary device they are migrating away from is the Even Reality G1, and the narrative of its decline is a masterclass in what we call hardware rot.
Hardware rot.
Yeah. When they first purchased them, the reviewer notes the battery life was acceptable, it served its purpose, but then the chemical reality of microelectronics set in, and the degradation they describe is catastrophic.
It wasn't just a slow decline either. It fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
They went from hours of use down to 20 minutes, then 15.
And currently?
Currently, the battery is so completely ruined that they can only glance at the time and date on the display 5 to 10 times before the entire device shuts down.
That is just wild.
5 to 10 glances. That is no longer a smart device. It's an incredibly stressful, anxiety-inducing digital hourglass.
The rapid degradation of microlithium batteries in wearables is an industry-wide crisis that rarely gets discussed in keynote presentations.
They definitely leave that out of the marketing.
For sure. When you have a smartphone, the battery is relatively massive. It takes a full day to discharge, meaning it undergoes one charge cycle per day. But a battery squeezed into the thin arm of a pair of glasses is infinitesimally small. To power an augmented reality display, it discharges incredibly fast. The user might be charging it 3, 4, or 5 times a day.
Which means they are chewing through the chemical lifespan of that battery 5 times faster than a phone?
Exactly. The lithium-ion cells are undergoing constant, deep discharge cycles, generating heat in a very confined space. And that leads to the most alarming revelation in this review.
Oh, this part blew my mind.
The Even Reality battery didn't just chemically degrade to the point of uselessness. It failed structurally. The user documents that the battery actually swelled up, bursting the seam of the frame.
And what did our intrepid power user do? They glued it back together.
It's unbelievable.
I am struggling to process the level of risk tolerance here. We were talking about a lithium-ion battery. When those swell, it means a chemical reaction is producing volatile gas inside a sealed pouch.
A major, major hazard.
It's a massive fire hazard. And this isn't a laptop sitting on a fireproof desk. This is a device designed to sit on the bridge of your nose, literally millimeters from your eyeball.
From an engineering and safety perspective, it is a nightmare scenario. A thermal runaway event, like a battery fire on a facial wearable, would cause catastrophic, blinding injuries.
And they just glued it.
The fact that the user applied household adhesive to a bulging, structurally compromised lithium pouch just to get 5 more glances at a clock perfectly illustrates the sheer irrational desperation of the early adopter. They are so deeply invested in the utility of the teleprompter that they're willing to ignore acute physical danger.
But the hardware rot was only half the battle. The software on the Even Reality G1 was actively antagonizing them too. You would think that, okay, the battery is dying, but at least when it's plugged in, they can read their books.
You'd hope so.
But the manufacturer managed to completely break the core functionality of reading text. The Teleprompter application had a hard-coded character limit.
It is a stunning oversight in software architecture. A character limit on a reading application means the user is entirely barred from simply dragging and dropping a standard EPUB or PDF file of a novel onto the device.
The mental and administrative load this placed on the user is absurd. Imagine wanting to relax with a sci-fi novel on your train ride home. But before you can even leave your house, you have to sit at your desktop computer, open the manuscript, and manually chop the text into dozens of tiny bite-sized digital chunks.
That's so tedious.
The user explicitly lists how they had to organize their files. Section 1, Section 3, Section 4, Section 5. They were forced to act as the human parser for a piece of supposedly cutting-edge technology.
It perfectly highlights the divide between hardware engineering and user experience design.
Right.
The hardware team successfully built a complex microprojection display mechanism that can beam photons directly into the human retina. But the software team failed to build a usable ecosystem around it.
The disconnect is crazy.
Forcing the user to manually slice data to accommodate arbitrary memory constraints is a total failure of basic software utility.
And it wasn't just the Even Reality glasses that failed them. They were so desperate, they actually backed a Kickstarter for another brand, mentioned as the WIT or ROIT glasses. And it's a tragic story, really, because these Kickstarter glasses actually achieved a massive optical triumph.
They really did. The reviewer points out that the display on the WIT glasses provided a real window and that the screen brightness was exceptional.
Which is huge for outdoor use.
Absolutely. For a user commuting, moving dynamically between the dark shade of a subway platform and the blinding glare of direct midday sunlight, screen brightness is the most critical hardware feature. The fact that a startup managed to produce a screen that remained legible in maximum sunlight is a phenomenal feat of optical engineering.
But of course, there was a massive, frustrating but. They nailed the impossibly hard physics of beaming bright light into the eye in daylight, and then completely fumbled the most basic software concept known to humanity.
It's almost funny.
The PDF reading app on the WIT glasses did not have a resume function. It could not remember what page the user was on when they closed the app.
Which borders on the absurd. We're talking about a concept, the bookmark, that has existed in physical form for thousands of years. It is the absolute foundational table stake of the reading experience.
I just want to pause and let you, the listener, truly appreciate the comedy of this. You have a device utilizing complex augmented reality microdisplays, running a modern operating system, connecting via Bluetooth to global networks.
And it is entirely defeated by the concept of a bookmark.
Yes. How does a development team get so blinded by the shiny, futuristic aspects of a device that they forget to program a save state for a document?
It happens constantly in emerging tech sectors, actually. A new paradigm, like head-mounted displays, creates a sort of tunnel vision among developers.
So,
They are so aggressively focused on solving novel, complex problems like head-tracking algorithms, spatial audio, or real-time translation pipelines that they completely neglect the foundational UI elements that make the device actually livable.
they just forget the basics.
They assume the basics are covered, or they deprioritize them in favor of flashy demo features for investors.
So how did the user cope? They had to manually take a screenshot of the page they were on every single time they stopped reading, save that screenshot to an album, and then pull it up the next day just to figure out where they needed to manually scroll to when they opened the book again.
Very annoying and very time-consuming, to use the reviewer's exact words.
I bet.
This gauntlet of friction, the swollen, glued-together batteries, the forced text chopping, the screenshot bookmarks, is the crucible that forms the specific user's mindset. This sheer exhaustion with software limitations and hardware rot is exactly what drove them to desperately seek an alternative.
Which brings us to the arrival of the pristine white box. After living in the graveyard of the Even Reality and WIT glasses, the user finally unboxes their new hope, the INMO Global glasses. And immediately, the unboxing reveals some highly unusual hardware decisions that signal we are dealing with a very different design philosophy.
The physical components included in the box diverge significantly from the monolithic design language we see from companies like Apple or Meta.
Where everything is seamlessly integrated into one sleek chassis, usually.
Right.
But they open this box, and beside the glasses, there are two distinct, separate pieces of hardware. First, there is an external speaker module that charges via USB-C.
Now, the reviewer hasn't fully tested this specific piece yet, but they assume it's designed to broadcast translations.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you are having a conversation with someone speaking German, the glasses translate it, and instead of a tiny speaker whispering in your ear, this external puck broadcasts the English translation out loud so the other person can hear your translated response.
It is a clunky but highly pragmatic workaround to a physics problem. Generating loud, clear, full-range audio requires speaker drivers that move air. You cannot fit large speaker drivers into the slender arm of a comfortable pair of glasses.
It's physically impossible.
Instead of compromising on audio quality or making the frames comically thick, INMO decided to just offload the entire audio broadcast system to a separate, pocketable device.
It's an admission that the glasses just can't do it all. And then there is the second separate component, a tactile smart ring.
Oh, the ring.
It's designed to be worn on the index finger, allowing the user to control the glasses with subtle thumb swipes. The reviewer is genuinely thrilled when they put it on and realize it actually fits their hand perfectly.
Although they are slightly annoyed that it uses a proprietary magnetic charger instead of a universal USB-C cable, which, is a valid complaint.
The inclusion of the smart ring is incredibly important context when you consider the user's past trauma, though.
True.
In the review, they detail how horrific the tactile input was on the old, even reality glasses. Most smart glasses rely on a capacitive touch panel on the side of the frame. The user notes they had to tap the side of their own head 5 to 10 times just to get a single input to register.
Imagine standing on a crowded subway, furiously tapping your own temple over and over again like you're trying to dislodge a bug from your ear, and the device is completely ignoring you.
It looks ridiculous.
It's a socially awkward and physically frustrating experience. The ring, in theory, solves this completely. You can stand with your hands in your pockets or holding a rail and navigate your digital world with microscopic, invisible thumb movements.
But as fascinating as the external speaker and the ring are, they are entirely secondary to the reviewer.
Yep.
The absolute non-negotiable killer feature, the singular reason they chose to spend their money on this specific INMO global model, is located on the arms of the glasses themselves.
Swappable battery.
The holy grail of longevity for the hardware power user.
The unboxing reveals a modular design where the back half of the glass arms can be magnetically detached and replaced. The glasses even ship with one spare battery right in the box.
And the reviewer's reaction is practically euphoric.
It really is. They document finding the tiny plastic insulation tab, pulling it out, and marveling at the magnetic connection. Though they do express a slight anxiety, noting that the magnets feel, very weak. They're terrified the battery might just fall out while they're walking.
That weak magnetic connection is a known engineering trade-off. Making a battery easily swappable by hand means you cannot use heavy locking mechanisms or industrial adhesives, which compromises structural rigidity.
That makes sense.
But let's analyze why this user is so hyper-fixated on modular power. We just discussed the trauma of the Even Reality G1 bursting at the seams.
The exploding glue hazard.
Right. To this reviewer, any device with a permanent built-in battery is nothing more than a ticking time bomb of planned obsolescence.
They lay out their consumer philosophy incredibly clearly. They say batteries are the biggest issues with smart glasses. Once those life cycles are through, well, then it's useless. You have to throw everything away. Without electricity, it won't work.
They literally call a dead smart glass a paperweight.
And here's the kicker. They state they want a device they can use for 5 to 10 years.
A 5 to 10 year lifespan expectation in the current micro-wearable market is almost unheard of. It defies the entire economic model of the tech industry, which relies on a 2 to 3 year upgrade cycle.
It really does.
But from a purely pragmatic standpoint, the user is absolutely correct. The display panels, the processors, the lenses, those components can easily last a decade. It is strictly the chemical degradation of the lithium-ion cells that dictates the death of the product.
So modular power severs that dependency completely.
Yes, exactly.
It's just wild to me how cyclical consumer technology really is. Think about it. If you go back 20 years to the era of the early Nokia brick phones or the first Samsung smartphones, a swappable battery was a standard.
It was expected.
You would go on a business trip, buy a spare battery at an electronics store, and just pop off the plastic back of your phone to swap it out when you hit 0%.
It was a fundamental right of ownership.
And then the industry titans convinced us to give that right up. They sold us on sleek, unibody aluminum designs, and IP68 water resistance.
Wow.
We accepted that our $1,000 devices had a hard expiration date tied intrinsically to a sealed chemical pouch.
And now we're celebrating its return.
Right. Seeing a swappable battery return on a highly advanced augmented reality wearable is hailed as a revolutionary premium feature. We are essentially engaging in tech retrofuturism, paying a premium to regain a utilitarian feature we willingly surrendered over a decade ago.
It signals a growing under-the-radar consumer pushback against e-waste and enforced upgrade cycles, I think. This reviewer explicitly hopes they can find a way to order more of these proprietary batteries online.
They just want a stockpile.
Exactly. Their ultimate dream isn't to buy new glasses in 3 years. It's to stockpile a drawer full of magnetic battery arms so they can keep this specific display hardware running into the 2030s. It's an industrial, highly utilitarian approach to consumer electronics. Just give me a reliable monitor and let me feed it power indefinitely.
So the hardware looks incredibly promising. Weak magnets aside, the dream of a 10-year lifespan is alive. The physical unboxing is a success. But hardware is only half the equation. Now, the user actually has to set the device up for their specific visual needs.
And this is where the joy of the unboxing slams face first into a brick wall.
What unfolds next is a truly agonizing case study in onboarding friction, highlighting the massive disconnect between globalized hardware manufacturing and localized user support. Let's talk about the lenses, because our reviewer does not have perfect vision.
No, they require prescription correction to read.
Right. They intelligently ordered custom prescription lenses directly with the device. Now, if you or I go to a local optometrist or even an online retailer like Warby Parker to buy prescription sunglasses, how do they arrive?
They arrive fully assembled. The lenses are securely mounted inside the frames, calibrated, cleaned, and ready to be placed on your face.
Exactly. The product is finished. But here, the reviewer opens the main box for the glasses and then finds a separate, smaller box containing the raw, unmounted prescription lenses.
Just loose lenses.
Yeah. They check the prescription, verify it matches their eyes, and then are struck by a sudden, paralyzing realization. They have absolutely no idea how to physically install these delicate optical lenses into the highly advanced, sensor-laden frames of the smart glasses.
This is a direct consequence of modern fragmented supply chains. It is vastly cheaper for a hardware company to have one massive assembly line in Shenzhen pumping out identical smart frames and a completely separate, cheaper facility grinding the prescription lenses, and then simply throwing both boxes into a DHL shipping mailer.
So they just skip the final step.
Integrating the two at the factory level requires complex logistical coordination and strict quality control that mid-tier hardware startups simply refuse to pay for. They offload the final, most delicate, high-stakes step of the manufacturing process onto the untrained consumer.
And the consumer is left holding the bag. The user logically looks for an instruction manual. They find a small card with a QR code. Standard procedure.
Right.
They scan the code with their phone, expecting a sleek, animated YouTube tutorial. Instead, the link directs them to a video entirely in Chinese, hosted on a platform called Bilibili.
Bilibili is a massive, highly popular video sharing platform in China. It's roughly analogous to YouTube, with a heavy focus on animation, gaming, and tech culture.
All right, so the user thinks, okay, I don't speak Chinese, but maybe I can just watch the visual demonstration. But the mobile browser player is clunky, so they try to download the official Bilibili app from the Google Play Store to watch it properly.
And that's when they hit the wall.
A massive digital brick wall. An error message pops up. This item is not available in your country.
They are geographically locked out of the basic setup instructions for a medical-grade customization.
The desperation of this moment is just so incredibly palpable. They banned me because of my country, the user laments. Imagine being in this situation.
It would be infuriating.
You have just spent a small fortune on fragile, cutting-edge hardware. You're holding delicate, custom-ground prescription lenses in your bare hands. And the single authorized guide on how to combine these two expensive components without shattering them is trapped behind an international geoblock.
It perfectly illustrates the fragility of the global tech ecosystem. The hardware can cross oceans in days, but the software, the support infrastructure, and the digital rights management are still heavily partitioned by invisible national borders. The manufacturer completely failed to account for a global customer base.
So what does a desperate power user do when the manufacturer abandons them? They turn to the very technology they claim to hate. They use AI as a lifeboat.
A reluctant lifeboat.
Exactly. They open up an AI chatbot, likely one they pay for, and ask it to scour the internet, read translated forum posts, and summarize how on earth to install these specific INMO lenses.
And the AI, relying on scraped, translated data, provides an incredibly vague, almost cryptic set of instructions.
The AI tells them, first it goes to the left, then you press down until it clicks.
Imagine standing in your living room, holding hundreds of dollars of delicate optics, and trusting a chatbot summarization of a translated message board to guide your physical actions.
The tension the user describes here is intense. They talk about the sheer physical stress of the process. They are terrified of applying too much pressure and snapping the plastic frame.
Oh, I would be sweating.
Right. And they're equally terrified of getting oily fingerprints all over the lenses because, as anyone who wears glasses knows, trying to forcefully snap a tight lens into a rigid frame without touching the center of the glass requires the dexterity of a bomb disposal expert.
It is a high-stakes, high-stress mechanical puzzle that the consumer should never have been forced to solve. And the tragic punchline to this entire ordeal is that even after they follow the AI's instructions,
Even after all that,
even after they push left and press down until they hear a terrifying snap, the result isn't perfect.
no. They note that after all that anxiety, the lenses don't even sit flush. There is a noticeable space, an awkward gap, between the edge of the prescription lens and the chassis of the smart frame.
That is so disappointing.
The user just kind of defeatedly sighs and concludes, I guess it can be used. It's better than nothing.
Better than nothing is the rallying cry of the early adopter. They are willing to accept physical imperfections and stressful onboarding just to get to the utility they actually crave.
It reminds me of buying a luxury sports car, but it gets delivered to your driveway in a wooden crate. The leather steering wheel is wrapped in bubble wrap in a separate box, and the only instruction manual on how to attach the steering column to the axle is a puzzle box you have to solve using Google Translate.
Yeah, you build it yourself.
But against all odds, the physical hardware is finally assembled. The lenses are awkwardly snapped in, the swappable battery is attached, the ring is charged. Now it is time to turn the device on and configure the software.
And if the physical setup was a region-locked nightmare, the software setup is about to introduce a bug so fundamentally counterintuitive, it threatens to destroy the entire concept of the product.
The onboarding friction does not end with the physical hardware. The moment the user transitions to the digital setup, they are hit with a barrage of demands from the companion app, known as INMO Global.
Let's talk about the permission gauntlet.
Yes, the user downloads the app, creates an account, validates their email, and then faces this endless scrolling wall of allow. The user is actually laughing out loud in sheer exasperation during the review, saying, "Man, it's amazing how many times you can ask me allow."
It's just endless pop-ups.
They are forced to grant access to Bluetooth, location, microphone, camera, contacts, background processing, essentially handing over the keys to their entire digital life just to use a teleprompter.
And the reward for granting all these permissions is an immediate violation of user trust. Almost the second the glasses connect to the app, the device exhibits rogue, unprompted behavior.
The AI, the exact feature the user specifically stated in their introduction that they hated, the feature they dismissed as a useless gimmick, completely hijacks the onboarding experience.
Without any input or trigger word from the user, the AI assistant activates and begins speaking directly into the user's ear.
The reviewer is practically shouting at the device in the video. The AI starts talking even though I don't want anything. Did I ask for AI? No, I did not.
They were so mad.
But it gets much worse than just an annoying voice prompt. The user looks at the microdisplay inside the glasses and realizes that the device is actively recording them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they can see a live transcription of their own voice, of their own frustrated yelling, scrolling across the screen. The glasses are listening, processing, and recording everything in the room without explicit consent.
It is a profound loss of user agency. The hardware manufacturer has hard-coded a mandatory interactive AI tutorial into the boot sequence, completely trapping the user.
They are desperately trying to escape. They are clicking the brand new smart ring they just charged, trying to swipe away the menu, trying to cancel the recording, but the interface is locked. The ring does nothing.
They're trapped.
They are essentially being held hostage in their own living room by a pair of glasses demanding they interact with an AI they despise.
It perfectly illustrates the arrogance of modern software design, frankly. The developers assume every user is thrilled to experience their new AI feature, so they force it upon them, completely ignoring power users who just want a utilitarian tool. But the user eventually forces their way through the rogue tutorial. They get the AI to shut down, they navigate to the main menu, and they prepare to finally set up their beloved teleprompter.
And this is the moment of truth. This is when they discover the fatal flaw. The absolute deal-breaker bug that completely undermines the entire philosophy of wearable technology. Let's dig into the mechanics of the smart ring.
The architecture of the ring's connection is where the entire system collapses. The ring does not connect directly to the glasses. It connects via a Bluetooth low-energy signal to the user's smartphone.
Okay, so it goes to the phone first.
The smartphone then processes that click and sends a separate signal to the INMO Global app, which then sends a command to the glasses to scroll the text down one line.
Which seems overly complicated, but fine. The user wants to stand on a crowded bus, holding onto an overhead rail with one hand, and subtly flick their thumb on the ring to turn the pages of their book on the glasses.
But the reviewer discovers a catastrophic limitation in how the INMO Global app handles that Bluetooth connection. The ring only functions if the companion app is open and actively running in the absolute foreground of the smartphone.
And I want to be incredibly clear about what foreground means here for you listening, because it is staggering. It doesn't just mean the app is open in the background while you check your email. The smartphone screen must remain physically turned on, fully illuminated, with the INMO app visually rendering on the display.
Yes. If the user presses the power button on the side of their phone to put the screen to sleep and slips the phone into their jacket pocket, the smart ring instantly disconnects and stops working.
Wow.
If the user keeps the screen on, but simply swipes up to go to their home screen to quickly check a text message, the ring instantly stops working. The app must command the screen at all times.
I have to stop and push back on the very definition of what this product claims to be. The entire foundational promise of a smart wearable, whether it's an Apple Watch, an Oura Ring, or augmented reality glasses, is to untether you from your primary device.
That is the goal, yeah.
The goal is to keep your phone buried in your bag or your pocket, reducing your screen time while you interact with a secondary ambient display.
Yeah, that is the industry-wide consensus on the purpose of wearables, yeah.
So if a user is forced to physically hold their smartphone in their hand, deliberately disable the auto lock feature so the screen never turns off, keep it glowing bright, and ensure they never accidentally brush the screen and minimize the app.
Just use a ring on their finger to control the glasses on their face.
Yes. The entire ecosystem is fundamentally broken. These are not independent smart glasses. They are just an incredibly inconvenient, battery-draining, $1,000 external monitor for a phone.
That is a harsh but technologically accurate assessment of its current functional state. And what makes this so fascinating is that the user didn't just give up. They didn't assume they were doing something wrong. Because they are a power user, they assumed it was a background processing issue, and they attempted to aggressively re-engineer the phone's operating system to fix it.
Right. The review details how they connected their smartphone to a Windows 11 PC and utilized ADB. Can you explain what ADB is and why using it shows just how desperate this user was?
ADB stands for Android Debug Bridge. It is a command line tool that allows a developer or a very technically proficient user to communicate directly with an Android device at a deep systemic level.
So it's pretty advanced.
It's essentially popping the hood of your car, bypassing the dashboard controls, and manually rewriting the engine management software.
Okay.
The user used ADB to dive into the hidden developer settings of their phone to strip away every single battery optimization protocol the operating system had.
Because phones usually kill background apps, right?
Exactly. Modern mobile operating systems like Android and iOS are aggressively programmed to assassinate background tasks. If an app is running in the background and constantly pulling for a Bluetooth signal like waiting for a click from a smart ring, the OS views that as a rogue battery drain and ruthlessly shuts it down to save power.
So the user used this developer tool to basically tell the phone, I don't care if this app drains my battery to zero, do not shut it down in the background.
Yeah.
Give it absolute, unrestricted access to the Bluetooth receiver.
Precisely. They granted it high-level systemic overrides, and yet it still failed.
Which is mind-blowing. If stripping away all the OS-level battery optimizations didn't fix it, what does that actually mean?
It means the problem isn't a conflict with Android's permission protocols. It means the failure is hard-coded into the INMO Global app itself. The developers who built the app simply did not write the necessary architecture to allow the app to process Bluetooth inputs while in a suspended or background state.
It's just bad code.
It is a fundamental structural failure of software engineering.
It's infuriating. And the user's reaction is a mix of anger and sheer disbelief. They literally draft an email to the manufacturer's customer service mid-review, begging for a firmware update. They write, if I can only use it as long as the screen is on, I don't like that. It means the phone always has to be on.
Think about the compounding issues this creates. It's a massive continuous battery drain on the phone, rendering the phone dead in hours.
Totally.
It's a severe security risk. Walking around a public transit system with your phone permanently unlocked and glowing in your hand or pocket. And most importantly, it entirely defeats the ergonomic purpose of the Ring.
Imagine their ideal intended scenario. They are on a crowded subway train. They are holding onto an overhead strap with their left hand. Their phone is safely secured deep in their backpack. The glasses are projecting their novel. And the thumb of their left hand, the one holding the strap, is subtly flicking the smart ring to turn pages.
It is the absolute pinnacle of frictionless, augmented reality convenience.
It sounds beautiful. It sounds like the future.
But the reality they are forced into, they have to hold the strap with their left hand. They have to hold their unlocked, glowing phone awkwardly in their right hand, carefully gripping the edges so their palm doesn't accidentally touch the screen and close the app.
So it's awful.
And they still have to wear the ring to click the page. The friction is so high, they might as well just give up, take off the glasses, and read the book directly on the phone screen.
The software limitation completely neuters the brilliant hardware. The swappable batteries, the incredibly bright monochrome screen, the tactile ring, all of this complex engineering is completely bottlenecked by an app developer who didn't know how to run a background process.
It's a tragedy of development priorities.
So we have established that the device is essentially a hostage to a glowing smartphone. But how does it actually perform when the user finally takes it out into the real world for a test drive? Let's look at the daily realities of using this hardware. The reviewer eventually leaves their desk and tests the daily features for roughly an hour.
And the data points they bring back from that hour are incredibly revealing about the compromises required to live with this technology. Let's start with the most critical metric for any wearable, the battery drain.
They note they started the real-world test with a completely full charge. They spent 1 hour actively testing the various features, scrolling text, testing the camera, trying the translation, and after exactly 60 minutes, the battery had dropped to 65%.
Which is a staggering rate of consumption. A roughly 40% drain in a single hour of active use implies a maximum theoretical battery life of perhaps 2.5 hours under moderate load before the device dies completely.
For a device that is marketed to be worn on your face all day long, 2.5 hours is abysmal. Suddenly, their absolute obsession with the swappable batteries makes perfect sense.
It really does.
They aren't going to be swapping batteries once a day. They're going to be hot swapping power cells on their commute like a soldier reloading a rifle.
It underscores the harsh thermodynamic reality of wearable tech. You simply cannot bend the laws of physics. Powering a high-nit display and maintaining an active Bluetooth connection requires energy, and small batteries deplete rapidly.
Let's look at the features they tested during that hour-long drain. They decided to test the real-time translation feature, attempting to translate spoken English into German text on the display. What was their verdict?
They classified it as basic but functional. They observed that the translation quality was not top tier, the phrasing was somewhat rudimentary and clunky, and the responses were quite short and lacking in sophisticated vocabulary.
Okay, so not amazing.
But they pragmatically conceded that it was good enough to convey basic ideas across a language barrier.
Which immediately links back to our earlier discussion about their rigid standards for AI. They demand absolute fluency. So a translation feature that is merely not too bad or good enough is a feature that a power user will almost immediately stop using.
It just becomes dead weight in the operating system.
They also tested the onboard camera, which can capture still photos and record quick 15-second video clips. They found it perfectly adequate for capturing a fleeting memory without the friction of digging their phone out of their pocket. But what I found truly fascinating was a specific physical accessory included for the camera.
Yes, the physical privacy cover. The glasses come with a small, snap-on plastic blinder that physically obscures the camera lens.
I love that. It is such a low-tech, elegant solution to a massive societal problem. If you are walking into a locker room, a private meeting, or just don't want strangers on the subway thinking you're recording them, you just snap the plastic cover over the lens. No need to trust a software toggle. It's physical hardware blocking the light.
It draws the lingering social stigma of smart glasses that has existed since the original Google Glass. But while the privacy cover is a hardware win, what is truly striking about this section of the review is the sheer volume of UI regressions.
Right.
The micro frustrations that actually make the new INMO glasses worse than the dying even reality glasses they are replacing.
Let's list these out because they paint such a vivid picture of the user experience. Regression number 1, wicking the screen. On the old even reality glasses, how did the user check the time or view their text?
They simply raised their head. The internal gyroscopes detected the upward pitch of the head, and the screen automatically woke up. It was a fluid, intuitive, passive gesture.
Exactly. The technology responded seamlessly to human movement. On the new, more advanced INMO glasses, that passive gesture is gone. The user complains that they have to manually reach up and push a physical, tactile button on the frame every single time they want the screen to wake up.
It's a massive downgrade in convenience.
It really is. Regression number 2. What the user is forced to look at when that screen finally wakes. On the old glasses, a head raise presented a clean, minimalist display showing just the date, the time, and the local weather.
Very clean.
It was glanceable, ambient computing at its finest, exactly what you want layered over your real-world vision.
But on the new INMO glasses, pressing the button greets the user with a cluttered wall of apps. They're immediately confronted with icons for the camera, the translation software, the AI assistant they hate, and various system settings.
The user explicitly complains, "I don't always want to see the apps. It's not nice to look at." It's the fundamental difference between ambient computing, where information is quietly available when needed, and strapping a chaotic, glowing smartphone home screen directly to your cornea.
It obscures their vision rather than augmenting it.
And then there is regression number 3, which might be the most consistently annoying flaw of all: screen brightness management.
The even reality glasses possessed an ambient light sensor. If the user walked out of a dark subway tunnel into glaring afternoon sunlight, the screen automatically increased its brightness to remain legible.
Just like a phone does.
Right. If they walked indoors, it's seamlessly dimmed to save battery and reduce eye strain. Auto brightness has been a standard feature on screens for over a decade.
But the INMO Global glasses, no auto brightness whatsoever. The user explains that every single time their environmental lighting changes, every time they step onto a train or walk out of a building or the sun goes behind a cloud, they have to stop what they are doing.
And reach up to the frame.
Yes, reach up, manually tap through the settings menu inside the glasses, find the brightness slider, and manually adjust the display intensity.
If we take a step back and connect all these micro frustrations, the manual wake button, the cluttered app wall, the constant manual brightness adjustments, the frantic swapping of batteries every 2 hours, and the absolute requirement to keep their smartphone screen unlocked and glowing in their hand.
A very clear, very exhausting picture emerges of what it actually means to live with this device.
It really does.
The user is in a state of constant, unrelenting management. They're managing the power supply, they're managing the display state, they're managing the UI outage, they're managing the Bluetooth polling on their phone.
It is a highly active, highly demanding, cognitively taxing experience.
It is the absolute antithesis of passive ambient technology. The technology is no longer serving the user to make their life easier. The user has become a full-time servant to the technology just to keep it functioning.
It raises a profound question about our relationship with modern consumer electronics. We barter away our convenience for specific utilities all the time, often without realizing the depth of the sacrifice.
We really do.
In this scenario, the user is willingly accepting a mountain of manual management, UI regressions, and structural software flaws, entirely to gain access to 2 specific things: swappable batteries and a functioning teleprompter.
Which leads to the most shocking, unexpected conclusion of this entire review. Because after detailing the Bilibili region lock, the rogue AI recording their voice, the 40% battery drain, the lack of auto brightness, and the unforgivable deal-breaker bug requiring their phone screen to stay on.
Despite all of that,
the reviewer definitively states that they actually prefer these deeply flawed INMO glasses over the industry darling, the Meta Smart glasses.
that is a staggering conclusion when you consider the context. The Meta Smart Glasses, developed in partnership with Ray-Ban, represent the culmination of billions of dollars of research and development.
They are massive.
They have a flawless, frictionless app ecosystem, excellent battery management, integrated charging cases, and high-fidelity cameras. They are universally praised as the most polished smart glasses on the market.
Why on earth would a power user reject the polished perfection of Meta for the duct-taped chaos of INMO?
because of the singular, uncompromising nature of their use case. The reviewer points out that while the Meta glasses boast full color displays and seamless ecosystem integration, none of that matters for reading text.
Oh, that makes sense.
For a teleprompter, color is irrelevant. In fact, color displays often suffer from worse contrast and readability in direct sunlight compared to a high-nit monochrome display.
The reviewer essentially says, I don't need color to read a book. The INMO glasses, despite being riddled with software bugs and UI regressions, provide a sharper, brighter, more dedicated monochrome reading experience than the mainstream alternative.
It perfectly encapsulates the entire journey we've been analyzing. A true power user will happily crawl through a mile of broken glass and broken software architecture if it means their one essential, non-negotiable feature works exactly the way they want it to.
Yeah, they will reject a multi-billion-dollar polished ecosystem if it compromises on their core utility. Let's take a breath and synthesize this incredible deep dive. We started with a frustrated user sitting at a desk looking at a pair of old glasses with batteries so swollen they had to be glued together just to get 5 glances at the time.
And we followed their desperate attempt to upgrade, tracking them through the unboxing of modular hardware, the absolute absurdity of using AI to bypass a region-locked Chinese video just to install medical lenses, the betrayal of the tethered software bug that demands a glowing phone screen, and the daily compromises of manual brightness and 2-hour battery life.
What this incredibly detailed, unfiltered source material provides is a raw look at the true frontier of wearable tech. It is a fascinating space, but it is deeply structurally flawed.
Deeply flawed.
These devices offer fleeting flashes of brilliance, right? The ability to read a novel while staring straight ahead on a crowded subway, the industrial pragmatism of swappable power cells. But they surround those brilliant flashes with a deep, treacherous moat of software bugs, hostile user interfaces, and constant manual micromanagement.
The future of augmented reality isn't here yet. What we're living in right now is a messy DIY duct tape and glue present.
For sure.
The user managed to secure the exact feature they desperately wanted, the teleprompter, but they paid for it by essentially becoming an unpaid beta tester and system administrator for the manufacturer.
And that reality leads me to a broader, much more troubling implication. I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends.
What's that?
We have just spent an hour analyzing a user fighting tooth and nail to keep their physical hardware functional. They are gluing batteries, they are begging customer service for firmware updates, they are desperately hoping they can stockpile proprietary magnetic power cells to make this display last for a decade. But their entire effort is based on a massive, terrifying assumption. We are currently buying millions of these hyper-specific, companion-dependent smart devices every year. Smart rings, smart glasses, fitness trackers, intelligent appliances. Every single one of them relies completely on a companion app running on your smartphone, which in turn communicates with a server located somewhere else in the world.
The physical hardware is merely a terminal. The actual functionality lives in the cloud and the App Store.
Exactly. So what happens to all of this carefully maintained physical hardware when those companion apps stop being updated? What happens 3 years from now when the mid-tier startup that manufactures the INMO glasses runs out of venture capital and goes bankrupt? Or what happens when Google pushes a major update to the Android operating system that completely breaks the Bluetooth polling architecture of the companion app and there is no development team left to patch it?
In that scenario, the physical hardware might still be in pristine condition. The monochrome screen might be perfectly bright. The stockpile of swappable batteries might be fully charged and ready to go. The custom prescription lenses might be clean and scratch-free.
But without that digital software handshake between the app and the server, the device is completely irreversibly dead. Are we blindly building a future filled with millions of unopenable, wearable paperweights? Are we trading the clean, binary, reliable precision of a simple physical tool for the murky, temporary, server-dependent convenience of a connected ecosystem?
It exposes the ultimate vulnerability of modern consumer technology. You do not truly own the device if you do not own or control the software required to make it run. You are simply renting its functionality until the server is turned off.
A sobering, slightly terrifying thought to keep in the back of your mind the next time you unbox a new smart device connected via Bluetooth and blindly hit allow on that endless wall of permissions. Thank you all so much for joining us on this incredibly deep exploration today. It has been a wild, eye-opening ride through the chaotic realities of early adoption and hardware rot. Have a great day, stay relentlessly curious about the tools you use, and we will catch you in the next deep dive.